My name's Emily, owner, business founder of EJ Artistry. I'm a full-time resin artist now. We are in the Narwhal Labs in TotalBoat in beautiful Bristol, Rhode Island. So we're gonna make a 16-inch geode mirror with Table Top Epoxy. We're going to pour the background main lines with it today. We'll be adding a couple steps further along that will include maker epoxy for the crystals that we'll be pouring. And then we'll also be finishing up the mirror with the tabletop clear coat at the end. With a lot of stuff that I make, I prefer it to be functional. So if we cover the whole mirror, then you won't actually be able to use it as a mirror. So we're going to cover probably about a third of the mirror in a geode style. So I'm just peeling off. This is just regular Scotch blue painter's tape. After we get this on, we'll take the X-Acto knife and just kind of roll around the edge to get the excess off so you have a nice clean line of tape. I always tape like much farther than I'm actually going to pour just to be safe. I always like to clean the surface off with a little bit of alcohol prior to pouring really anything. And just go over the surface, get rid of all my ugly fingerprints. So we're going to mix the tabletop epoxy, parts A and B together in this bigger cup. Then we'll ration it out into these smaller cups with all our different colorants, and then we'll pour it on the mirror. So normally when you're mixing resin overall, it really depends on your project, but you're always trying to introduce as little bubbles as possible so that you have less work to do when you're actually pouring. So this doesn't really matter so much because the mirror is going to be a really thin layer. But if you were trying to not have bubbles in your resin, you could use like a metal stir stick and do more of like folding rather than aggressively stirring like this. So you kind of have to decide what direction you want your mirror or whatever you're working on to go in so that you know how much kind of generally you're going to have in each one of the cups. So I know I want this geode to look mostly white, but I want there to be accents of pink and gold in it. So the bulk of the resin is going to be colored some sort of shade of white. So I'm gonna mix white to be the most, and then I'll dole out additional white in other small containers, and then add the pigments in from there. You kind of have to picture what you want this to be at the end, and sometimes that might not happen at all, which is totally okay, which is part of the resin art. It's totally unpredictable. Sometimes it won't do what you want to do and it comes out amazing, and sometimes it doesn't. When you pour the lines on, you want to pour a smooth, steady line on, and then just kind of wait a minute because the resin is going to slowly expand on whatever surface you're pouring it on. Because you don't want to throw down your next color really quickly because then they're going to smash into each other and now you might not have this smooth line. I know I want a gold edge, so I'm going to start a little bit above where I actually want it to be. I'm going to take one of the iridescent colors and I'm going to not touch what I just did. I'm going to make sure it's separate because I want to leave space for the resin to meet each other. I'm also making the colored lines thinner than the main lines because I know I want that to be less of the focus. So from here you can take your heat. Your heat will make your resin expand so that it kind of, you end up seeing where it's going to land. I can tell right now that it's not moving a whole lot, but that I want this to meet. As this resin starts to flow into the next one, wherever it touches first is where it will connect, and then you might kind of have like these lumps of jagged edges, which is fine because geodes are like that too. But I'll just take my finger and I'm going to push the resin to meet the other one in one fluid motion. And wherever my finger displaced the other resin, it's just going to fill back in. If resin's touched it, it's going to go back there. We're going to be making some crystals to go on here as well. And I already know that I want the crystals to be like this light kind of iridescent translucent pink color. So I want to have a lot of this pink section so that when I layer the crystals on there, it has kind of like a home and it matches the color of the crystal so it doesn't kind of look out of place. Also, really quick thing, you want to start slightly off of your surface, because you start pouring your first part of your pour on, you're gonna get this bubble, and then, because you're not, did it hit? Is it there? Is it not there? And then you're pulling. So you always kind of want to start your pour off the side. Background of the Geode mirror is cured. We're going to be adding our glitter lines next. Let those cure, then we'll come back for the final step, add our crystals and our paint pen lines, a top clear coat to seal it all, and then we'll be done. So you want the resin to be as thick as it possibly can so that it will spread out as little as possible. So the more glitter you add, the thicker the glitter becomes, and the more chances you have of not only being like super like shiny and glittery because it's so concentrated, but the less that it will spread out once you pour it on. A lot of times people will also just like leave this alone and walk away from it and almost like let it cure a little bit, so it almost kind of can't move. So our Geode mirror glitter lines have completely cured. So we're gonna add some paint pen lines. We're just gonna add some white, keep it super simple. Then we're gonna add a couple different levels of crystals, a clear coat to seal it all, and we'll be done. Kind of a little more closer to what a natural geode stone would look like. It would have like these lines kind of running through it. This also gives different widths of your color that you're in there to kind of like break it up. So I'm going to pour a clear layer over. I've already added a tiny bit of resin to both types of my crystals. They're kind of like a little bit sticky and they're gonna like fall off your stick slowly, so you have a little bit more control of where they're going and they don't fly everywhere. So we just finished pouring the last layer on our Geode mirror. It's gonna take between 12 and 24 hours to fully cure. Then you're gonna want to heat up the tape with a heat gun. There are some drips on the back here that I missed with the tape, but that's okay. You can heat that up with the heat gun as well and just use a scraper to take it off. So to see more beautiful geode and wave creations created with different TotalBoat epoxy, follow me on Instagram at EJ Artistry.